Do you often encounter thick slime? What if it's not just a symptom, but your body's defense system? Perhaps this is not an illness, but a way your body tries to convey an important message to you. Each drop of slime is a signal from the stomach, lungs, or even the bladder. But if this signal is not understood, the protective mechanisms may fail and start to self-destruct. In this case, familiar remedies like honey, milk, or warm water may prove harmful. The same product can both thin mucus and make it thicker. In this video, you will learn how to turn sticky slime from an enemy into a reliable protector without medicines or complicated procedures. In the end, I will suggest a simple action plan to avoid confusion. Recently, an acquaintance complained, "I take medicine, gargle, it helps for just a day, then I feel a lump in my throat and cough again." Familiar? The reason turned out not to be a cold. Physiologically, mucus is a protector. When we do not recognize its significance and perceive it as an enemy, our actions can disrupt the balance. But when we begin to understand, everything changes. My acquaintance wrote a few days later, "My throat is free. The cough is gone." Imagine your body produces a whole glass of this thick liquid daily to protect itself. Sounds unusual, doesn't it? In a few minutes, you'll learn how even an ordinary salted cucumber can both thicken and thin mucus. But first, let's understand what happens when the slime shifts from being a protector to an obstacle, hindering breathing, digestion, and normal sleep. Here is what will help you understand it right now. Stand up and take a deep breath through your nose. Is it hard? Do you feel stuffy? This slime blocks the airways. Now pay attention. Many try to cleanse themselves incorrectly. Gargles, expectorants, rinses, and the mucus returns with double strength. Why is that? Because the cause was not eliminated. It's like wiping up a puddle without turning off the tap. Now I will show where the thin line is between when slime is protection and when it is an obstacle. In fact, it's simpler than it seems. Remember, your body produces a glass of thick liquid every day, and it saves your life. Mucus can be an enemy, but at the same time, it is your invisible protector. It traps dust and microbes when inhaled, softens acid in the stomach, helps food move through the intestines, and prevents bacteria from settling in the bladder. When the balance is normal, we don't even notice its presence. We breathe, eat, and live peacefully. But as soon as the mucus becomes thick and sticky, everything changes. The morning begins with coughing, the stomach grumbles, and a trip to the bathroom becomes uncomfortable. It is then that the body sends its first quiet signals. We often attribute them to fatigue or age, although there is something more behind it. Slime loses its flexibility, stops being a helper, and becomes an obstacle, like an old friend who suddenly starts to let you down. How to regain balance? The secret lies in what the centenarians of Okinawa have been doing for 1,000 years. One simple ritual. A glass of warm water to be sipped slowly, in small gulps. It thins mucus and lubricates the entire body's functions. You'll feel lightness in just a few minutes. And another secret. Chamomile with honey. It's like real hugs from the inside. A warm chamomile infusion with a teaspoon of natural honey taken twice a day can have a soothing effect on mucous membranes and helps retain moisture. Consume it slowly in small sips for enjoyment rather than as a substitute for medicine. However, if you have diabetes, consult your doctor first. But what if even such measures do not bring relief? What if mucus has accumulated over the years and turned into a real problem? In that case, this is already a warning signal. This is exactly what happened to the actress who became the talk of the entire country. Her story radically changed the perspectives of medical professionals on this issue. If the steps taken do not help, it means the signal has become louder. In the spring of 2024, actress Elena Sanayeva's name made headlines due to respiratory issues that led to her hospitalization. The media reported a diagnosis of pulmonary embolism, and the actress mentioned heart problems as well. This is very serious. It should be understood that not every heart attack and not every shortness of breath is a cold. Our daily ailments are often related to inflammation of the mucous membranes. The body can accumulate problems for years. The protective mucus can become thick over time and hinder breathing. The voice may falter. Breathing becomes labored. Sanayeva's story is a reminder for all of us. The body's signals cannot be ignored. A morning wheeze, a persistent cough, the feeling of a lump in the throat. These are not just background noises. They are a call to stop and address the cause. How many weeks have you been living with a persistent cough? How many times have you postponed a visit to the doctor after the holidays? The first step is simple. You need to restore a normal rhythm to your breathing and fluidity to the mucus. In the morning, take 10 deep breaths at an open window. During the day, practice a gentle breath hold for 5 counts. In the evening, take 5 minutes for slow breathing. These exercises can ease your condition. They help mucus move and activate the natural cleansing process. However, this does not replace a consultation with a doctor and is not a universal remedy for all ailments. If you feel chest pain, experience sharp shortness of breath, or notice blood in your sputum, call an ambulance immediately. What did the doctors notice about Sineva in the first seconds? Problems are not always detectable on an electrocardiogram. Sometimes the answer lies on the surface, in the mouth, throat, or nose. Signals can be present for months and are easy to miss. Slime is not always an enemy, but sometimes it can become dangerous. In a few minutes, you will learn when, exactly. For now, I will explain what the color and thickness of slime mean and how to better understand your condition. I will explain everything simply and step by step. To avoid serious problems, it is important to realize one simple truth. Mucus is a reflection of your internal processes. The body does not remain silent. It shows how it feels, just in its own way. If the mucus is clear, light, and comes out easily, then everything is fine. This indicates that the body is fighting, cleansing, and the protective forces are active. This happens during a mild cold or hypothermia. However, if the mucus is thick and viscous, it indicates overheating or dehydration of the body. Perhaps you are not drinking enough water, breathing dry air, or frequently using drops. Such a secret is harder to get rid of, and bacteria multiply quickly in it. If the mucus is cloudy and yellowish, it is a signal of an inflammatory process. The body tries to get rid of the bacteria, but it finds it difficult. If it is green, it means the inflammation has worsened, and it's time to see a doctor. A foul smell indicates congestion in the sinuses or bronchi. If there is blood, it means the mucous membrane is damaged. This should not be delayed. The good news is that many processes can be tracked and adjusted at home. The main thing is to pay close attention to your condition, not to be afraid, and to react in time. Remember the pickled cucumber? That's its secret. Drinking a bit of brine on an empty stomach makes mucus softer and easier to expel, while doing so after a meal thickens it and protects the stomach. One remedy, but 2 opposing effects depending on the timing and the body's condition. Now you know how to read the signals of your body, but when does a signal become alarming? Let's figure out where this fine line lies. If you are currently thinking that your runny nose has lasted for 3 weeks, this video could save you from serious complications. Because what seems like a prolonged cold is often diagnosed by doctors as sinusitis. Inflammation of the sinus is located very close to the nose and even to the brain. Do you know what happens next? The mucus that should protect becomes thick and stagnant. This is the perfect environment for bacteria to breed. As a result, pus forms in the sinuses, not because the mucus has changed, but due to the onset of inflammation. And here, a vicious circle arises. The more bacteria, the thicker the mucus, the worse the drainage. Therefore, the inflammation intensifies. Why does a runny nose last for weeks? Not because of a weak immune system, but because the mucus has thickened and blocked the sinus openings, like a cork in a bottle. This can happen due to dry air, lack of fluids, and excessive use of nasal drops. The drops do ease breathing, but only for a short time. With prolonged use, they damage the mucous membrane, and the swelling becomes even worse. Remember the main point. If symptoms do not go away within 7 to 10 days, or if the condition worsens again 3 to 5 days after improvement, you should see a doctor. This may be a sign of bacterial sinusitis, which requires treatment, not just rinses and drops. The sinuses are located very close to the eyes and brain, so inflammation should not be neglected. Mucus is a signal. Do not ignore it. Now you know when mucus stops protecting and starts harming. It all begins with breathing, then reflects in the stomach, and ends in the intestines. Let's break this down further. Here's what paramedics notice first, but rarely tell patients. By the sound of a morning cough, one can understand the condition of your lungs. A hoarse, tearing cough indicates that the bronchi are already overloaded with mucus. If the cough is wet and thick, it indicates respiratory stagnation, while a short and dry cough means the body is simply tired of fighting. Unfortunately, Vladimir Ivanovich learned about this too late. He was 68 years old and had always considered himself healthy. For 3 months, he coughed in the mornings and thought it was nothing that would pass on its own, until he ended up in the hospital with an inflammation that could have been stopped at the very beginning. The main thing is to listen to your cough. It communicates with you every day. There is an ancient way to ease breathing and help the lungs clear, used by our grandmothers. Warm milk gently envelops the irritated throat, honey helps soothe inflammation, and a drop of butter forms a thin protective film. By morning, the mucus becomes softer, and breathing is restored. Try a simple test. Tomorrow morning, approach the mirror and listen to your voice. If it is clear and ringing, then the lungs are functioning normally. If the voice is hoarse and fading, it's a signal that the body needs help. Don't put it off for a week. Allow yourself one day to regain strength. The lungs are working, but if mucus keeps rising again and again, it's worth looking for a deeper cause. Now, I will tell you where. Exactly. What if the bloating after a spoonful of soup is not just discomfort, but a sign that the mucus in the stomach has stopped functioning? Stay with us. Right now, I will show 3 simple signs indicating that food is stuck inside. The first sign: you eat a little, and your stomach swells like a drum. This indicates that food is stuck and the stomach is overloaded. The second: you eat a piece of bread and immediately feel heaviness for the entire day. This happens when the mucus has dried and the stomach cannot lubricate the food. The third sign: warmth from food rises to the throat. This is a signal that part of the food and acid is returning. The protective function is disrupted. What is happening inside? Usually mucus coats the food and helps it move smoothly. But when the balance is disrupted, food can get stuck, causing bloating and heartburn. Galina Petrovna from Saratov knew this from her own experience. At 72 years old, she had cooked for her family her entire life and endured a constant feeling of heaviness for 3 years until the doctor explained a simple rule. One should eat small portions 5 to 6 times a day. Why overload the stomach with a plate of rice? In a minute, the stomach sends signals and the intestines demand attention. Doctors increasingly say that intestinal inflammation is a disease that often goes unnoticed for a long time. A person can live as usual for years until the body starts sending signals. But these signals are not visible in tests. They manifest in the details of everyday life. How to understand if the intestine is inflamed or if mucus has stopped performing its protective function. Here are 4 main signs. The first is frequent mucus in the stool. A small amount is normal. The intestine protects itself, but if mucus appears regularly, increases, and looks like a stretching film or gel, it indicates irritation of the mucosa and the need for enhanced protection. The second sign is bloating and rumbling after eating. When inflammation hinders the normal movement of food, bacteria begin to ferment, leading to gas, heaviness, and a feeling of bloating. The third sign is the alternation of constipation and diarrhea. The intestine spasms and relaxes, often indicating disturbances in the microflora and inflammation of the walls. The fourth is fatigue and drowsiness after eating. If the intestine is inflamed, it works at its limit, and energy goes to digesting food rather than vital processes. The condition of the intestinal mucosa reflects its health. If it becomes too much, or appears often, especially with streaks of blood, it is a signal to pay attention to health and undergo a medical examination. The most common mistake is to silence symptoms with antispasmodic pills. Such relief is only temporary, while the inflammation remains. To support gut health, start with simple steps. Make sure you drink enough fluids, increase vegetable intake, and try to avoid white bread, rice, and sweets. These products contribute to thickening mucus and make cleansing difficult. Listen to your body's signals. It is not shameful, but wise. When mucus accumulates not only in the intestines, it is already a warning sign. Soon, you will have a ready list of daily actions. Meanwhile, I will explain how to recognize the next signal. Mucus is also present in the urogenital system and serves important functions. This thin, almost invisible film protects the inner walls from bacteria. Thanks to it, the body can cope with microbes, even if you are chilled or not drinking enough. However, if the balance is disrupted, the mucus becomes thicker and murky and cannot perform its protective function. Remember a simple rule. If your urine is clear and light in the morning, it's a sign of health. If it's cloudy, has sediment, or an unpleasant smell for several days, your body is signaling inflammation. Antibiotics are not always necessary. Often it's enough to support the body with natural methods. Maintain hydration and gently support the urinary system. Simple remedies can help, such as a brew of cranberries or lingonberries. 2 tablespoons of berries per cup of boiling water. Steep for half an hour, and it's ready. Drink half a cup twice a day for 2 to 3 weeks. These berries act as a natural antiseptic and help reduce inflammation. But it is important to remember, if you feel pain, burning, have a fever, or blood in your urine, be sure to see a doctor. Home remedies can support but cannot replace full treatment. We examine the signals coming from the respiratory, gastric, intestinal, and urinary systems. Now it's time to move on to practical recommendations. Let's start with the first symptom: nasal congestion and thick mucus in the mornings. What to do? Drink warm water in small sips. Use an isotonic saline solution for the nose, rinse and irrigate. Breathe through pursed lips 3 times for 1 minute. Humidify the air to 40–60%. What should not be done? Do not use decongestant drops for more than 3 consecutive days. Avoid dry heat and excessively hot steam, and sleep on a low pillow. The second symptom: heaviness and bloating after a small meal. What to do? Eat small warm portions every 3 to 4 hours. Do not lie down after eating for at least 2 hours. Instead, take a short walk lasting 15 to 20 minutes. Drink water throughout the day. What not to do? Avoid sharp and smoked dishes, alcohol, overeating, white bread, rice, and sweets. Do not wash down food with hot tea or coffee. The third symptom: frequent mucus in stool. What to do? Regularly drink water and gradually add fiber to your diet. Include vegetables and whole grains in your menu every day, as well as dairy products if they suit you. What should you avoid? Do not abuse antispasmodics to silence stomach rumblings, and do not use laxatives as a preventive measure. Do not self-medicate with sorbents for a long time. Fourth symptom: cloudy urine for several days. What to do? Drink 1.5 to 2 liters of fluid a day, unless you have restrictions due to heart or kidney conditions. Go to the bathroom every 3 to 4 hours. Do not delay. Cranberries and lingonberries can provide support. Infusions or juices help, but do not replace treatment. What not to do? Antibiotics without a doctor's prescription, aggressive intimate hygiene products, and rough sponges, as well as hypothermia, can lead to unpleasant consequences. Consult a doctor if you notice symptoms such as blood in sputum, stool, or urine, and if the temperature exceeds 38 degrees and lasts more than 48 hours. It is also important to make an appointment immediately if you feel chest pain, severe shortness of breath, sharp pains in the abdomen or lower back. If symptoms persist for 10 days or more, or worsen after 3 to 5 days of improvement, this is also a reason to consult a specialist. Pay attention to the strong pain or burning during urination and frequent nighttime urges. Remember that home remedies can only serve as support and do not replace full diagnosis and treatment. Now that you know what to look for, you can take better care of your health.